In United States, one profession which commits maximum number of suicides is farming community. Once there is food shortage, humanity will go away. 1920, if you ate lettuce, today if you eat it, you get only 10% of what you got then. We are consuming the soil of the unborn child.
True.
This is a crime.
You're the teacher.
You need a fool to bell the cat because it may bite your head off. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram,
Meenakshi,
Sadhguru.
wonderful to have you here.
Today I want to ask you something very important. And that is, I know you're going for a motorbike ride.
Oh, wow.
and I want to understand, the task which you have set yourself up for. What is the calling?
Well, in India, you've been hearing thousands of farmers committing suicide.
Yes.
It's not only in India, even in United States, one profession which commits maximum number of suicides is farming community.
Is it?
Yes. In the last 12 years, 50% of the American farming community has not seen a single dollar. They have not seen profit. 50% are going under loss, always. So suicides are highest even there. Above all, soil itself is dying, this is soil extinction we're talking about. People may think, oh, what's wrong with soil, this is too alarmist. Well, just look at the data in the world.
Yeah.
Because every responsible scientist is pointing it out that world may have just another 60 to 80 harvests left, which is 45 to 50 or 60 years max.
Yeah.
And by 2045, it's expected that we will be growing 40% less food than what we're growing right now, but our population will be over 9 billion.
Yeah.
That's not a world you want to live in.
No, definitely
That's not a world you want to leave your children in.
Yeah.
Because once there is food shortage, real food shortage I'm saying, all pretensions of civilization will go away.
Sure.
Even humanity will go away.
Yeah.
People will become like wild animals, killing each other, So, it's very important that we do the turnaround now. Why now is because the loss of biodiversity is at a certain pace right now. Approximately, it's estimated some 27,000 species of microbial organisms are dying or going extinct per year. 27,000 species, I'm not talking about organisms, species. If we progress at this rate, if you can call it progress, or if we deteriorate at this rate, in approximately 30 to 40 years' time, we'll reach a place where at that time if we want to regenerate the soil, it will take 150 to 200 years.
And we'll have no time left
No.
also.
Now if we do it, in another 10, 15, maximum 20 years, we can make a significant turnaround. So it's a cusp of time where we are right now. This is a commitment, this is a responsibility, this is a challenge, and it's also a privilege that we have this opportunity to prove ourselves to be a responsible and conscious generation. So, what I'm seeing is in the last 8-9 months, I'm talking to a whole lot of people, scientists, political leaders, national leaders, variety of people. What I see is everybody knows what's the problem. It is just that it looks like they were waiting for an idiot to bell the cat, and here I am. This is the
No. You're the teacher. You're the teacher putting errant students on the right path. but
No, you need a fool to bell the cat because it may bite your head off.
No. I think someone needs to put the sense where it's required. We all have the capacity, humans have the capacity to be insane also, so I think we need to understand. So, my other related aspect which I wanted to understand was that in terms of nutrition and sustainability, what kind of soil, because I come from Delhi and I know that all my childhood I used to see so many, wild plants growing by the roadside of their own, nobody to nurture them, nobody to look after them. And I can relate that once the humus content is high, automatically some plantations, some foliage will grow. But with so-called urbanization, in the name of beautification, they have concretized the pathways and they have ruined all the C&D waste keeps collecting by the roadside. Plus, Delhi being Delhi, we are on the borders and an extension of the desert ourselves. So old Aravallis used to block that desert sand which is coming from the Rajasthan side, but today we kind of get covered with sand. The farming in Delhi has gone down. The farmers in Delhi are worse off because they are not even recognized.
You can sit here.
Yeah, I'll be happy to.
Please.
So I would say that how do we handle that?
In case there is a flood, both of us will float.
No, and we will always remember this because this is going back to the soil.
Very much.
So, considering Delhi as one example, I'm sure this is the story across all big cities in the world.
No, it's not about cities. See, there are two major evils on the planet in terms of soil: ploughing and paving. Paving has become necessary because one thing is people are not willing to walk on uneven surfaces. We've been made to believe, especially from Western societies, everything should be concrete. And today, the neuroscientists are saying, continuously walking on flat surfaces, the activation of the brain is considerably reduced.
Oh.
So another thing is, I'm not making a joke of anything.
No, please do.
Suppose you're wearing high heels, you can't walk unless it's paved, I'm saying.
Yes.
You simply cannot walk.
Yes.
So, it's become necessary to pave, and we think that is modernization or whatever. You won't see any paved surfaces here, though I am under constant pressure from various people. Sadhguru, people will fall down. The other day one child fell down. You must pave the road, you must pave the road. I said, everybody should learn to walk as the land is. You don't have to make the land according to your handicaps. If somebody is handicapped, they will go in a wheelchair or they'll do something. But people have to learn to walk. See, even now the lawn is not been leveled, all right? We don't touch the land, we never run a dozer on any land. However it is, we build accordingly. This is very important because the first 12 to 15 inches of the soil is the richest part of the soil. It is responsible for 87% of life on the planet, including you and me. So, every time we want to do even a little bit of work, everybody runs a dozer, level it out, level it out. This infatuation for flat surfaces cannot sustain a round planet.
And for us, Earth was always round and not flat.
Yes, of course.
No, I was basically trying to connect the climate change aspect, the desertification aspect with the soil and nutrition aspect with the soil quality. And I was trying to understand your thought on these issues.
See, right now these trees are in reasonably pretty good health. So where are they getting their nourishment to grow this tall? You would want your sons to grow like this.
Yeah.
So where are they getting it from? Are they just sucking it out of the soil and growing? No. We must understand, they're able to take something from the atmosphere. But when it comes to soil, largely most of it, they have to exchange it with other creatures. They're microbial, but a handful of soil has anywhere between 7 to 10 billion microorganisms, and you have to deal with them. So if this tree takes in carbon from the air, atmosphere, turns it into carbon sugars, it is transporting it down, and here there is a marketplace going on, serious exchange going on, negotiations going on all the time. Why I'm saying this is, for every species of tree, certain type of microorganisms rush there.
True.
Because they know where to go, how to
What
transact, what it is. They will not give the nourishment to the tree unless the tree is willing to give carbon sugars.
Yeah.
If you want to experiment with that, I mean, it happens to coconut trees, but that's not a good example. Let's say a lush tree right now with full of leaf. Every leaf that comes off, you pluck it off for next 1 year. You'll see the tree will die. Because it is starving. The microbial organisms will not give them any food because it is not able to do its photosynthesis and pass the carbon sugars down. If it doesn't have cash, it will die.
Very good way of putting it.
It's carbon currency.
Yes, yes. So before we started talking about
our
carbon exchange.
Our markets are nothing compared to what's happening here.
True, true, true. Very, very apt way of putting it and making people understand, especially those who understand the language of currency.
Photosynthesis is the greatest phenomena that's happening on the planet. See, I mean, scientists estimate approximately 1 billion years ago or whatever. At that time when protozoa, algae, fungi began to happen, this little more complex than… little more complex than microbial life. But they had no chance of thriving big time. For the first time, it learnt to use the sun's energy and…
convert it into sugar.
Convert it into carbon sugar. So the moment that happened, that's when life on this planet changed, because the perpetual energy source of sun was used to generate life or the life-making material. When I say life-making material, see, today it's become like this because people act like they've fallen out of a textbook. And if you utter the word carbon, they'll say, oh, poison, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, like this. Carbon is the basis of life here. You and me are carbon life.
Yeah.
These trees are carbon life. Every creature is carbon life. Everything is carbon. So, it started doing photosynthesis, and that is when this happened. At that time, the oxygen levels in our atmosphere was way below 2%. Today we are around 21%.
Because of them?
Yeah, because of the photosynthesis. And the planet has become suitable for us to live and many other larger mammals to live here only because of the oxygen levels. As you reduce photosynthesis, when I say reduce photosynthesis, now you come to Coimbatore, when you fly back to Delhi, just make sure every 5 minutes you look out. Except for the Western Ghats, rest of the country, this part of the country is totally like a brown desert.
Yes.
Northeast and Western Ghats are the only two green places. Everything else is like desert in summer. So where is the photosynthesis? So where there is no photosynthesis, life cannot thrive. Photosynthesis is a way of feeding the microorganisms. And because they feed them, they in turn feed the plant life. Because the plant life is fed, animal life is fed, human life is fed, everything is fed because of this one process called photosynthesis. But we have reduced that significantly on the planet, putting it back in whatever form. It can be grass, it can be trees, it can be bushes, it can be crops, but land should be always covered with green leaf. But now we are ploughing it and leaving it open. Today modern machines can plough anywhere between 12 to 14 inches. This is like killing the very source of our life. Leave it open to the sun and it just dies.
And even the process of evaporation, the moisture capacity will go down because it will all dry up.
Significantly. And not only that, it's an established thing today. If you raise the organic content in the soil to 8 to 10%, your irrigation requirements for a crop will come down to 30% of what you're doing right now. If you raise it to 12 to 15%, your irrigation requirement will come to 10 to 15%. That is, if you're using 100 liters of water, you can bring it down to 15 liters of water if your organic content was 12 to 15%. So, your water problem, for example, in India, 84% of our water is used for agriculture. If you enhance the organic content, your water consumption will come down so significantly, you can grow what you want throughout the year. Just to give a sample, actually, we have, other agricultural places. This is a place where children play. If you just as much as simply with your finger, not with any implement, if you do this, it'll always be damp. That's how it should be. That's all the plant needs. Plant doesn't need you pumping water into it. Plant needs damp soil so that it's alive. huge amount of water is stored in the soil structure itself. And as microorganisms work, soil structure expands like that. And in that water is stored. The microorganisms also need it, the plants also need it.
And even the big trees and all are vessels for plants also, because if
Yes.
the normal tissue structures, xylem, phloem, are water carrier, and they are putting the water back, and that's why in the evening they also re-nourish the soil with the water, which they process as a byproduct of photosynthesis.
Yes, it depends on the level of humidity in the air. And also there is something called as transpiration, where an exchange of moisture is happening between atmosphere and plant life. For example, in India I'm saying, this is the Western Ghat, a part of the Western Ghat here. If we remove complete vegetation from the Western Ghats, India is finished.
God.
Because all the rain will fall in the ocean itself, the monsoon rain will not come inland. The reason why the rain comes here, it wants to shed on the trees right there in the forest, but it'll bump it over. Because of that, it's coming inland. If there is no forest cover here, the rain, monsoon rain will not go or penetrate into the whole geography of this country.
I was just trying to understand that now, the next connection, the connection of forest with attracting rains. The green cover is attracting rains also.
Very much. That's what I said. If this green cover was not there, monsoon would largely shed itself in the ocean itself, or will go over, because we are a narrow peninsula, it would go over and shed the other side. But we wouldn't get it on this land if this green cover was not there. For example, if you want to see a monsoon as a living thing in its own way, it does not know what is forest, what is garden, what is this, what is that. It needs vegetation. If there is enough vegetation, it will shed. If there's no vegetation, because low pressure will happen and it keeps pushing the cloud because of the heat, because of the temperature, expansion of the air, it pushes the thing up. Okay, there are thermals which are pushing the cloud further up, further up. It can't shed rain from a very high place. If it has to shed, it should be at a certain level. So that won't happen if there is no vegetation. Only if there's vegetation, the cloud comes low. Otherwise, tend to move away because of the heat.
Oh, very interesting. In fact, I was looking at the…
Well, I still didn't answer your nutritional question.
Yes, and I was looking… nutrition, you know, I was talking about this. I can see the lichens growing on the coconut trees, which means oxygen is… or the air is very pure and oxygen content is very high, otherwise lichen won't grow. And again, the symbiotic relationship between the algae and fungus here on the lichens.
You're a very biological lawyer, huh?
I did… well, the trick is I studied BSc Botany Honours.
At your time, everybody did BSc.
Oh, that's… I said, when you talked about the schooling, I said I have a long story to tell, but another time, not on the camera. So…
about nourishment or nutrition.
Yeah.
See, the nutritional value of the food that we are eating has significantly come down. These facts are established at random in many different countries in many different ways. But probably in United States, there have been more studies about this because they are more concerned about their nourishment all the time because they don't have it in the food. So, it is such a rich land, a vast land, there is no population pressure on the land as it is there in India. Today, it's fashionable for people to eat or they're aspiring to nourish themselves, there's some sense come to how we eat, and everybody is trying to eat a salad and this and that. So let's say we take one important ingredient of the salads, lettuce. This is one thing that's been properly tested, studied. 1920, if you ate lettuce, what you got from it, today if you ate it, you get only 10% of what you got then. 10%,
really?
Yes, 90% drop. 90% loss of vitamin E, 43% of calcium loss, over 40% of vitamin C, like this there are…
Oh God.
You can go on. The same reflects in the American population. In the American population, A, B6, B12, C, calcium, folate, iron, everything is lacking in a whole lot of American population. Why talking about American population is important is, it is the most affluent country or society.
True.
Obviously, they have a choice of nourishment. They need not be malnourished, but they are. See, today, I mean, you can't directly relate it to one to the other, but definitely it has a certain play. That is, for example, the pandemic. Well, pandemic essentially, whatever its other aspects, virological things are different, but essentially it's upper respiratory tract infection. Any doctor would tell you, not a big virologist, a simple doctor would tell you that if you don't have vitamin A, B6, B12, folate, iron, magnesium, zinc in your diet, you become susceptible to…
And everyone was on zinc tablets.
Yeah, you become susceptible to upper respiratory tract infections.
And these are basically deficiencies, the food deficiencies.
Yes, it's affecting you much more. I mean, I can't directly correlate and say, this is the reason why it's happening. There may be many other reasons, but this is definitely one of the things. That nourishment value is very low. In 1920, if you ate one orange, today you will have to eat 8 oranges to get the same.
But that's terrible.
That's not practical,
yeah,
I'm saying.
And it's not practical, one. Two, with eating 8 oranges, you are eating that much more glucose
Yes.
also into your system. So you are pumping more sugar and less nourishment. That also will
Yes.
impair you. So
That also may be one of the reasons why the infection or this pandemic is going on is the sugar consumption in America. They commercially, right from childhood, it's been brought into their life. Anything you drink, anything you eat, in everything there's sugar, sugar, sugar. After some time you can't eat anything without sugar.
Yeah.
That excessive sugar consumption could also be one of the reasons why they're more susceptible to these things, but essentially loss of nourishment in the food that we consume is a serious issue, especially women's health is seriously affected because of a lack of certain micronutrients.
calcium,
Why I am
zinc.
saying women's health, people today, everybody talking about equality, equality, why women's health is a concern
Yeah.
is because a woman's body is designed to bear another life.
True.
It needs to be at a different level of nourishment and
Fitness.
capability.
Yeah.
But when that is not there, that body suffers much more than the man's body. A man may do hard work outside, physical work, but bearing a child is like a whole,
Giving birth to
Yes.
another life, yeah. But that brings me to another thought process, and that is connection of nutrition, food and our bodies, because as in yoga and as you have said many times, that we are what we eat. So if we are what we eat and
we
we
should
are
be little more than that.
okay, our body is what we eat.
Yes.
And we are definitely more than that. We are not just our body. So, so the connection of our fitness, nutrition, food, cooking methods, and the type of food quality that we are eating, and that I was just thinking when speaking to you, this idea just struck me that in old times, even when I was a young kid, we used to have iron kadhais at home, and most of the green veggies like methi and aloo and palak and saag, etc., will be cooked in that iron kadhai, and few delicacies were meant to be cooked only in that kadhai. All that system's gone, and I would take it upon people like me also. I would take it upon myself.
Because today we think it's unhygienic.
I wouldn't call it unhygienic, just that it's gone out of the system.
See, even today in southern India, most homes, well, all the so-called modern homes have lost it.
Yeah.
Traditional homes, if you want to make a certain type of rasam, we will only use a molded, not a sheet metal vessel, a molded iron vessel. It's cast iron.
Cast iron.
Because it lets go some of it into the food. And today you say any metal means poison, poison, poison.
No, no, no. No. We need iron. And in fact, chlorophyll also has the same structure as hemoglobin.
Very close.
Yeah.
Close.
Almost.
Don't tell me that's the reason you turned green today.
I thought maybe if I can start photosynthesizing, my problems will end. But I do the other things to use the sunlight for myself.
Very important. In yoga,
Yeah.
if you have kept yourself well, only 40% of your energy that you have should come from food.
Only 40%.
Yes. Remaining energy must come from water, air and sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you're like that, your body will move ahead of you, not behind you. You don't have to drag it around. Always it's on. The energy that comes from food, that percentage increases, you will feel heavier and heavier, more draggy, your sleep quota will increase, all this. You will see today, tomorrow, you will see hardly anybody sleeping these 2 days and they're fine,
Yeah, yeah.
doing work, not
Yeah.
just… not partying.
I sleep less, but that at times is diagnosed as a problem. That sleeping less is also a problem.
See, we are making prescriptions for the whole world by studying sick people. Somebody who is unwell, you take that as the standard and set those standards to everybody. Well, that's not the way to go, because right from various conclusions we've made physiologically and psychologically, many of them are completely off because researchers get only sick people to study. They don't get a yogi to study, all right. Like for example, they say without dreams you cannot sleep.
Yeah.
This is not natural. It is natural for whom?
Yeah.
So, it is very much possible for people to integrate their body or create a certain integrity to their system simply by connecting with the soil and the ground around us. This happened, I think in early 2000. When I was in Michigan, I was doing a few programs and I spoke there about our yogic hospital. These days we are not using the term, we are calling it Isha rejuvenation. So at that time it was called yogic hospital, and I said how it works and what are the things that we're doing and how it benefits people, what are all the ailments that have been benefited. So especially one doctor from Michigan who had a serious heart ailment and sleep apnea problems, that she could not fly in an airplane, she can't lie down and sleep, she needs the machine, and she can't… the doctors have advised her not to walk more than 20 steps at a time.
Really?
Yeah. She's on disability pension. She was just in her 50s. So when I was announcing that, the Char Dham Yatra we were doing, she said, Sadhguru, can you take me? For her it was like throwing a challenge at me, more like a joke. Said, like I can't walk 20 paces, can you take me to Himalayas? I said, why don't you come? She said, but I can't fly. I said, then swim and come. If you can't fly, you come, we will take you. She came here and somehow she managed to fly with somebody's company, and she said, I can't lie down and sleep because I need this machine. And I brought my own machine. See, if you depend on this, and in India here in a rural area, that machine, power will go off any time and you will die. You leave that machine, and I told her, first time I allowed somebody to sleep in the Janalinga temple, I said, you sleep there. You just sleep there. She slept there for 8–10 days without machine, she was fine. Then I took her to Himalayas. She walked all the way up to Kedar.
Wow.
Okay? And then she shared this, I don't know what he did to me like this. So based on that, a few doctors came here. And I think 8–10 of them. Then after third day, our office calls me and says, Sadhguru, the doctors are very upset, they want to leave right away. I said, what happened? We don't know, they're very upset, they're screaming and yelling. Yeah. I said, what is okay, let me see them. And I came out and asked, what is the matter? They said, you said you have a yogic hospital. We have gone around the whole premises, we don't see any hospital. It was a total lie. I said, oh, this is your problem, please come, I will show you. At that time I had a little over maybe 70 or 80 people who were under treatment. I said, come, and I took them and showed them in the garden, say, I put them to work, I don't want to waste a patient. I put them to work with bare hands and bare feet working in the garden. That's part of it. Every day, 3 hours they work and rest of the time they're doing some other activity. We are of course treating them, doing yoga and everything. Various yogic therapies are also being done and they will get well. If you put them on a nice bed and organize a pretty nurse to take care of them, why will they get well, huh? They don't get well like that.
So the concept of hospital treatment and therapy.
See, it depends what is the problem. There are infectious issues. Right now somebody got COVID, of course they need hospitalization at that moment when they're in bad condition. But how not to get COVID is something you must learn. How not to get those flus and stuff, you must learn. How not to get diabetes, blood pressure, other chronic ailments which you manufacture in your body, that you have to learn. There are some things which come to us from outside. Essentially, you can categorize this as infectious diseases and chronic diseases. Chronic diseases means something that you manufacture, for whatever reason, knowingly or unknowingly you're doing it. Infection means it's an invasion from outside, that you have to deal with, for that you need a doctor. But only 30% approximately is infectious diseases. 70% are chronic ailments, all self-created. We can deal with that internally with a little bit of support. You don't really need to lie down in the bed and handle that.
I was again, maybe I'm diverting, but I feel it's related to nutrition.
Very much.
And I must ask you this, that autoimmune disorder is something which most of us are familiar with, and most of us knowingly or unknowingly have gone through it or are going through it, which means problems like hypothyroidism, problems like diabetes, problem like uric acid production. As you said, these are metabolic disorders which are happening due to, say, someone's got gluten allergy, someone's got some other allergy, and all is coming from food that we eat, and we have no control how that food
See, this is
made.
because we are on high heel life, not high heel footwear, high heel life. That we're not in touch with the source of life, we want to walk up here, you will pay the price. You need to be connected with the source of life. See, we would clearly understand this if we were made like trees, if we had roots in the soil. We understand we are part of the soil, we have to be there. Just because we've been given legs and mobility, somewhere we are just forgetting what is the source of our life.
But these allergies which are coming from food,
Yeah. See,
and the quality of food which is grown.
people in Ethiopia or somewhere else where they're starved, they are not allergic to any food, all right? Why are you allergic to different types of food? One thing is, the way you live is become such. When I say where you live, you're living in boxes, you call those homes, they're just boxes. You don't have to open a window for the next 12 years, always temperature is where you want. All right, you're living in a lab, you're not living on the land. Instead of living on the land, you're living in a lab atmosphere, so naturally a lab creature cannot come on the land.
So you're saying that allergies are manifesting themselves because of other reasons.
See,
and not just the food?
No, everything. See, food is your physical connection with the earth, all right? You can't every day go and roll in the mud, but every day you eat, that is rolling in the mud.
True.
In a way,
True.
okay?
Yeah.
So what kind of food? How is it coming? In what form is it coming? What is the level of microbial life in that? What is the level of chemicals in that? All these things are playing a role in this.
Toxicity.
This also depends on the atmosphere because you need heat, cold, everything is needed for life, okay? Every plant, every ant understands this. Only human beings think we will keep the temperature always at 24 degrees centigrade. Comfort, we have sold ourselves to comfort. So, I must tell you this happened, okay? A local farmer one day prayed very hard to Shiva. Shiva, he was Bholenath, innocent, he just appeared. So, the local farmer asked, Shiva, have you ever done farming? He said, no, my son, I have not done any farming. When I was there was no farming, I just hunted and lived. Then why the hell are you controlling rain? Okay? Leave it to me, I'm a farmer, I know when I need rain, when I need sunlight, I know. Why are you controlling these things? Then Shiva said, okay, you take it. So the guy was happy, the whole agricultural process is in his hands, you know. So he planted his corn crop, maize crop rather, and he says, rain, 10 minutes, he looks at the soil, enough, stop, stop. Sunlight, too much, cloud, stop. Like this he managed. In 50 to 60 days, this maize crop grew like never before. Boom, it came up. Full, the cobs came up, full, green and wonderful. He was so happy, you know. See, I'm much smarter than Shiva himself. Then he went to see how the grain is, you know, in India, in everywhere it is there. The farmer goes and rips the cob and wants to eat and see how it is, the grain.
The taste,
when it is still not dried up, it's still wet and raw. He opened, the cobs are all big, no grain. He ripped one after another, no grain. Then he again screamed at Shiva, Shiva, what have you done? Shiva came and said, son, I gave all the controls to you. But what happened? He said. What happened was, if I was there, I would blow the wind, I would create some distress for the plant so that it has to root itself stronger. And because of that, grain would come. Now you made these corn plants come up in great comfort.
They are not producing seeds.
Yes. No grain, only cobs.
That reminds me that we with our innovation will make that cob look like another vegetable and use that without the…
They're producing square watermelon because it's easy to pack.
Yeah. So, no, but I think conservation of soil, as you've put it across so beautifully, that one has to understand the currency which plants use and the currency of carbon, carbon glucose and carbon sugars, and how photosynthesis is so important, and for all those purposes the humus content needs to be kept up, and for that we need to bring back to the soil what we have extracted out.
We need policy.
We need policy.
See, right now if you have 10,000 square feet of land in Delhi, you can only build 6,000–7,000 square feet.
Yeah.
You must allow the rest of the space for yourself, your neighbor, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So because of that, the city develops in a certain way. Just go back to the old city. When there were no such laws, they built these homes.
Yeah.
There's no concept of a window.
Yeah.
There's one entry door and one entry out. All sides homes. Nobody can open a window anywhere, there's no concept of a window itself.
Yeah.
So is that the way to live? But right now, if you have 10 acres of land, you can plow 10 acres of land, every inch of it, and in 10–15 years you can convert it into a desert, nobody to ask you, why are you doing this? So we need a law that if you own agriculture land, minimum 3 to 6% organic content should be there. This is one thing is about nourishment, about agricultural economics and everything, but above all, it is our responsibility to give living soil for future generations. Right now, the soil that we are consuming is not ours. We are consuming the soil of the unborn child.
True.
This is a crime.
True. And one last thing which I thought I must touch upon, because that question's coming back to me repeatedly. I've just come back from Punjab and I saw mountains of parali. Parali is the waste, the husk, etc., which has come off rice crop or wheat crop, and mountains of that lying wasted, and whole lot of people finding ways to cart it to another place, sometimes trying to dry it, sometimes trying to burn it, sometimes trying to light fire, sometimes blocking ways. I felt what a waste of a resource. I want you to touch upon that subject because in a personal experience, I want to cite an example that in NDMC there's a park which we call Lodi Garden. That was the first starting point for me. When I got elected, I learned that 35 plus trucks of foliage was being transferred every day to a landfill. So when I got to learn of that,
These are serious crimes.
Exactly. So I kind of got after them and I said, one, you're creating footprints by carbon footprints by using that much of diesel and petrol, paying the transporter to take that away. Two, you are undernourishing the soil. So foliage from that garden is going to be utilized in that park itself, and we try to do that in all the gardens in my area. We've tried to do it. So I felt we've saved some transport cost, and we've tried to re-nourish the soil, and we also tried to
See,
put
the transport cost
composting
is
plant.
not so much worry.
No, but
The real thing is the foliage goes back in, that's a very important thing.
I felt I must bring it up to you so that you explain it and you tell us how we can incorporate this as a policy decision.
See, right
and
now
what all we can do.
we have written a policy document, I'll send you a copy, you
Sure.
can look at it. How if we have the necessary, little aggressively if you go within 1 year, within 12 months, you can get the soil organic content to 12%, to 3 to 4%.
Lovely.
If you go a little slowly, easily in 6 to 8 years, almost every land in the country can be above 3%. Right now, 62% of the land is below 0.5%. That's a desert. Close, 1 inch close.
You know, whenever I try to close, another question keeps coming to my mind, and that's a terrible way of closing a conversation. But I'm not in a mood to close the conversation. I'm addicted to listening to you. So the other aspect which I've noticed multiple times, of course, increasing the soil fertility by increasing the humus content. And taking the foliage, etc., back to the soil by composting processes, etc. The other aspect
See,
where we
now
are messing up.
election time you were in Punjab.
Yeah.
I was looking at what's happening in UP. You know what's the big complaint in UP against the government? There are too many bovine animals on the street, nobody wants them.
Yeah.
I met the agriculture minister for this purpose and I said, when 65% of the country's population are farmers, how can we say bovine animals are a problem? We need them.
Yeah, and we need to use their…
Yes.
and
See,
again,
we are thinking only if they milk, they are useful.
this is again the way of thinking.
Yes. So all this husk is there in Punjab, cows are there on the streets, you know what to do?
Exactly, but they are… I think the other problem is the machines they are using to cut the grass is probably coming with some corners which is not palatable for the animals. So they are not able to eat and chew it right. I mean, I read it somewhere.
See, that may be a 1 in 1,000 animal may have it pierced in its throat and thing, but that's not a great amount of problem. That can be softened by just spraying some water on it, you know. Above all, except for the grain that you need to eat, rest of it should go straight back into the soil. And if you give it to the cow, if you allow 1,000 cows to go around in your 10 acres of land for 3 days, they will not only eat, they will also put the dung right back into the land.
Sure, sure. And make it fertile.
Yes.
And their digestion system's pretty strong as compared to other animals. In fact, C&D waste, you know, over construction is one bit, and then not managing the C&D waste and putting it, making a fertile land infertile by putting a dump, making a dump all over. All over I've seen this. I've seen it in Kerala, I've seen it in every other city, I've seen your neighborhood. So this is another kind of crime which we all are doing, and that is also leading to infertility of the soil and decreasing the humus content. So I think something needs to be thought about that as well.
Definitely, but I'm telling you, the cities are the least of the problem. Cities are emitting, carbon fuel emissions, that is a problem that needs to be addressed, it's affecting human health and all this. What we are addressing right now is 70% of the world's land is agricultural land, 71% actually. So out of this nearly 51 million square kilometers of land, now nearly 50 to 55% is on the verge of desertification, okay? That's a real problem. Cities, urban people must fix it, but they're always talking about air pollution because it hurts them. They don't understand the food that they're eating slowly is becoming trash.
True.
It may come well packaged, but it is becoming trash because it's growing in a land where there is no nourishment. So putting this back is not only for our health and well-being, for the economy of the nation and the world, but above all our responsibility for the future generations. We cannot forsake that.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much, Sadhguru, for such a lovely, enlightening conversation, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Save soil, let's make it happen.